Welcome everyone. This is MileSplit Live presented by New Balance. We have a great show for you today with two pretty big commitments coming on our show, but we'll start really quickly with our National Performers of the Week. I'm here with Travis and Brian, and out in Trent's corner we have Trent, our marketing guy.
What's up, everyone?
So we're all ready to get going, but first, National Performer of the Week from last week, Dustin Holder out of Lakota East in Ohio.
Yep.
Fourth sub-15 time on the season for Dustin. Really one of the most consistent runners in the country right now, so congratulations to you, Dustin, for winning that. And then Claudia Lane, no surprise there, 15:49 at Mount Sac Invitational this past week, 2 weeks ago, and yeah, she won National Performer of the Week. So
shout out to those fan bases. They always get a ton of votes when we put them on our list, so those Ohio fans definitely there for Horder, and of course Claudia Lane. It's hard to argue with that.
Absolutely. Now we have one big thing coming this week, a Workout Wednesday with the one and only Grace Ping Dynasty, so watch out for that on Wednesday. But let's get into our interview. Travis, who we got here?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this. Coming up here, we have DJ Henderson. He's about to announce his commitment on MileSplit Live. Talked to him about a month ago when he was starting the recruiting process, but he's just new to the sport of track and field. He hasn't been competing long, but clearly established himself as the #1 long jumper in the class of 2018 after his win legal 25.5 at the Great Southwest Classic last year. He's had a busy fall, so we're going to talk to him, see what he was going through and his recruiting process looked like, and then of course he's going to tell us in front of the entire country where he's going to be going next year. DJ, thanks for joining us.
Oh, nice to be here.
All right, so let's start back at the beginning of this fall. What were the schools that you were looking at?
I was looking at Texas Tech. I went to Georgia, Oregon, and then I went to Florida State.
And for you, you're new. You've had 2 track seasons under your belt now. When you started coming from basketball just to try out the sport of track and field, did you think that 2 years later you would be the top athlete and one of the top recruits in this entire class?
No, I was just going out there. I knew I was fast, and I knew I could jump, so just let it go through.
And for you, who were some of the people that gave you some good advice going into the recruiting process? Because it is overwhelming when you're looking at all those top programs. You're going on a lot of visits. What was the most helpful advice that you got throughout all this?
The coaches just told me to, just try to see through the visit and see how the school would actually be on a day-to-day basis. Ask questions, and then just see if I could live there for 4 years. And see if they will prepare me to the next level.
And for these college coaches, and with you, there's still a lot of development there. You haven't been jumping very long. You're already at 25.5. What were some common themes that you heard? What do these programs and what do these different coaches think you could accomplish in college?
They see I have a skinny frame, a lot to build, put some muscle on, and then I could be a top jumper in the world, hopefully.
That's right. You're a top jumper in high school right now, and hopefully you'll soon be a top jumper in college. So, DJ, without further ado, where are you headed next year?
Uh-oh.
Hey.
Focus on the Oregon.
Quack, quack.
All right. Dude,
Yes,
congrats, man. That's huge. That's 2 big Oregon to conduct commits we've had here on MileSplit Live. Talk to us about your decision. Why Oregon?
Oregon, on the visit, it was a very good visit. I fit best with the team. I have a good relationship with the coaching staff, and it's Oregon.
Yeah, and for you, you looked at a lot of programs with some really strong jumpers, programs that are really strong in the field events. And when you looked at Oregon, was there anything specifically while you were there or going through the process where you're like, you know what, this one thing was ultimately what moved me to decide to go and compete for the Ducks?
Pretty much be fitting with the team. I gelled with the team very good. They were in the support system in Eugene. It's just crazy. It's a real track town. Track is almost bigger than football there, and it's crazy. And I like the support system.
And for you, does it help to see those other recruits? You've already had Emily Sloan, Eric Edwards, of course, a fellow Texan going there. Seeing those athletes, does it help to know that you're getting some of the top other kids within the 2018 recruiting class will be joining you there?
Oh, yeah, that was a big factor in my decision. I talked to Eric a lot. You know, we go room together out there. You know, it's going to be a fun experience.
And for you, from start to finish, if you have to look back, who are some of the people you want to thank who have helped get you here in just 2 seasons of competing in track and field?
Coach Washington up at Trinity. Coach Kenny, biggest factor, you know, he's my jump coach. Brought me out from basketball, told me, he asked me if I could dunk. I was like, yeah. And then I went to the pit, and then now I'm the jumper I am today. My parents, of course, and my friends and family, you know.
Thanks, DJ. We appreciate you taking some time to commit here on MileSplit Live. Best of luck to you next year, and we can't wait to see what you do this track season.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, DJ.
You got it. That's huge for the Oregon Ducks. You know, that's great. That's 2 big commitments we've had here on MileSplit Live for Oregon, but that's 2 Texans. He just mentioned he's going to be rooming with Eric Edwards next year, but Oregon, it just keeps on rolling. Yeah. That train coming through just this past weekend. They had some cool social media shots of them out in the field, the football stadium, being honored for the first team to win the Triple Crown for cross-country, indoor, and outdoor. So a lot of success they've had recently, and it's just going to keep on coming as their track team is now reloading with some really talented athletes. You
heard what he said. What was one of the reasons why he picked Oregon? It's Oregon. Yeah. That makes it really tough for other programs that are trying to get big recruits because you can't really replicate what history has at Oregon. So that was really interesting, but really good athlete, and he's going to have a good future for him. We want to stick with NCAAs coming up November 18th on Flow Track. We got a lot of freshmen in NCAA cross country really competing well. Who do we think is going to really possibly perform super well at the NCAA championships?
You know, when I just had Big 12 champs helping out Flow Track this past weekend, it's always interesting to see how those athletes are going to step up in cross country. You know, you see the tiers, the Worley's running 4, and Reed runs sub 4 in track, like, okay, that translates, but how are you going to move him up to 8K? How are you going to move up to 10K? That's a whole nother animal. We see those guys being redshirted all the time, especially in the past couple of years with some of those elite athletes. You know, Thomas Ratcliffe getting redshirted at Stanford. But now, Sam Worley, they're really good at Big 12s. He ran extremely well, top 3 finish, finished strong in a conference that's not always quite as deep when you go back to 20 or 30 places, but right at the top, those are guys who are contending for All-American finishes at NCAAs. I was really impressed with what I've seen out of Sam Worley, not just there, but also in the previous races this season. I think Sam Worley is going to be the top finisher at Nationals this year.
Brent, who you got?
That's a big call. Sam Worley's a great dude, but you know another dude who's been running really well is Cooper Tier for the Oregon Ducks at Pac-12s. I think he finished 8th overall, and he led the Oregon men. So that's huge for Cooper Tier as just a freshman to be leading that, you know, such a strong, solid Oregon squad at Pac-12, such a big meet.
Yeah, and 2 guys that we figured would have big seasons. I'm going to go on the women's side, Iowa State. Callie Logue, the multiple state champion out of Girard and Kansas. She was 4th at Big 12s recently for ISU, and they won that meet with 49 points on the women's side, so she was their #1 runner. I think she had a really good performance, and she's sneaking up on that Flow XC maybe. No, but Iowa State's ranked number 22 on the Flow XC for Flow Track's ranking, so I really think big things are coming out of Iowa State and Callie Logue. Yeah, and it's really funny too when you look at pre-nats and the finish these guys had there. It was wild watching that race play out, and I was looking at the finish. I was waiting. I love seeing the freshmen and how they do. And I was sitting there at the finish line. I see Cooper Tier coming. I'm like, oh man, that's like a really good finish. Right. And Sam Worley and Reed Brown all finished within 1 second. You know, Sam sandwiching that Oregon duo. For Reed Brown, you got to be like, man, I raced this kid for 4 years in high school. Can I like get away from Sam Worley? Reed Brown, you're coming down the finish at pre-nats, and there, sure enough, there's that long, too tall, too skinny, like Sam Worley, like flying down the finish and still edges Reed Brown by less than a second. Like a replay of like every single one of their state championship meets just at the college level. It's wild to see how you go to pre-nats, this massive field, and somehow Reed Brown and Sam Worley are just sandwiched there at the finish. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, phenomenal. You know, we're going to go right from college potential freshmen having impacts at NCAA to another commitment on our show. Yeah. Brian, who do you got coming up here?
Joaquin Martinez de Pinillos. He's going to be on our show here in just a little bit. You know, he's one of the top guys in California. He finished 1st in the D3 sweepstakes race at the Mount Sac Invitational, and you know, he was also 3rd at CIF last year in the D3 race. So big name for the state of California, and hoping to have him on in just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he consider, what kind of schools did he consider?
I know he's looking into Stanford, Wake Forest, and I want to say Villanova were his 3. And we talked to him like right after, that race at Mount Sac, and he was really looking forward to, getting this decision made and get it kind of off his back. And he was talking about going to a smaller school. I'd heard when he was telling me, he wants to be a place where he's going to know the team. He's going to get to know the teammates, the atmosphere, the environment, the coaches, as well as just kids in his class. Like, he doesn't want to walk around campus and not just be another number of the teachers. He wants to be able to, have the teachers put a face to a name. He said he's gone to small schools most of his life, and it's just something that's nice for him. So
yeah, for sure.
And when you look at that as well with some of these distance runners, you got to think that that's so important for them to get this out of the way. A lot of these guys, even who have made commitments previous to this, Gabe Fendel was with Colorado, but that is it's a lot of stress to put on your schedule. You're training, you're taking trips, you're flying across the country, you're trying to get in big meets, you're trying to get in the qualifiers you need to get to the state meet, but because of that, you're flying all over, you can't make those things work. And so to get that out of the way, now you can focus on your state meet, you can focus on regionals and make it to a national championship, and you don't have to fight through everything else that goes there. So for them, it's just such a relief to get this off your back, and now you can just refocus and get back to racing again.
Yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of difficulty getting him on the phone. We might be able to do that later, but we're going to move on to our next topic, which sprung up this weekend in Michigan. Northville High's boys program raced at Region 0601 recently, and they finished 3rd overall, qualifying for state. Woo!
Congrats!
Get the states!
Yes,
all right,
I love it.
Hold up. Now,
okay.
Officials get together, they say a couple of the boys were wearing different undergarments.
Yeah.
DQ right there.
Were they wearing bun huggers?
They were not wearing bun huggers, but they were wearing different colors of undergarments, and that's a big situation because they raced really well. They want to get to state. They're appealing it right now with the Michigan High School Association. We're going to try to get these guys on the phone and talk to them a little about it.
Giving them a call right now. That is tricky with these situations. Every state's a little different. You have NFHS rule. Every state has their own undergarment rules, especially this time of year. You're talking about Michigan. You can't just run in the short shorts and singlets anymore. You got to have some extra layers on. It's probably one of those hotly debated topics in just about every state. It seems like these rules are always in flux. They're always changing. One year you can implement one thing, and next year it completely flips, and you're talking about something else. But here we go. We're about to hear it.
We're on the phone with Nick Kurahumigan of Northville. I'm sorry, Nick. I got that name wrong.
That's okay.
All right. But obviously, you're a junior with Northville, and we already kind of discussed what you were going through with the DQ from this weekend. Can you explain to us right now what the Northville team is going through to try to get that qualifier back?
Yes, so this weekend we were qualified for wearing different colored shirts under our jerseys, and part of the reason was that it was high 30s, low 40s in terms of temperature and degrees Fahrenheit. So we were bundled up, and so going into the appeal, sorry, that was your question. So we put together a formal appeal, our coach and our athletic director, to the MHSAA, and we sent that out, I believe, today. And also our parents have sent out emails to them as well. And we're just doing everything we can do possible to overturn their ruling. And a lot of it has to do with trying to get support from the running community as well. So we're reaching out to as many sources as possible.
One of the big points to this story is that on race day, the officials kind of went over their race starting line procedure, and they talked to the team, but they didn't really mention your warm-ups or your undergarments as one of the rules. So, technically, the rules state that you have to get a warning first before DQ. So what kind of happened with there, do you think?
Right. So part of our appeal is we have two main arguments with our appeal. And our first main argument is that in the rules you're supposed to be given a warning by an official prior to disqualification if you're breaking any of the rules in terms of uniform code. So that's our main appeal, because during the check-in process, they came up to us and they explained all the rules, but they failed to explain that rule, and then they also failed during check-in to give us a warning had we broken the rule. So that's our number one main point for our appeal.
Two years ago, Northville's girls program had a situation. They qualified for NXN for the first time in Michigan history, and were not denied that bid from the Michigan High School Association until parents formed a legal lawsuit against it, kind of forcing their hand. So do you feel like there's a situation where, something could happen, you might have to do something more on top of that in terms of a lawsuit or anything around there?
I believe that in terms of just the sheer time issue, I don't think we have time to go the legal route. We are using all the resources possible in order to form our dispute and to properly put together arguments, but we're not considering a legal route as of right now, just because our next Saturday. So we only have 5 days to get all of our arguments out to MHSA and get a ruling.
All right, well, Nick, we will be in touch. We'll figure out what happens from here on out. But thank you for sharing your story, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye. So this is a dicey situation.
Yeah, man, Northville just can't catch a break here, coming from NXN to this. They seem like they're always at the heart of it. It's a really tough situation for these athletes. You're trying to just put yourself in the best possible position to run well in this race, compete at your championship, and the officials don't quite always communicate in the best possible way. So for these athletes, that's out of your mind now. You're going to the start line assuming everything is okay, and then to have this happen after the race is just such a blow to these kids' season.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, it's a huge blow, and I don't want to take anything away from what they did. Obviously, they're very accomplished, but like to me, that's somewhat on a coaching perspective. A coach should know, like, hey guys, like we have to all be matching in uniform. Like you can't have blue, you can't have orange, and I have yellow. Like it just doesn't work like that. Like that's been a written rule in the rule book for years and years and years. Like since I've been running cross country back in high school, I know one of the big things was we always had to match. And if we weren't matching, we weren't running. You had to match. Like, and even in college, it's in the rule books everywhere throughout cross country. So for that to kind of, and I understand the conditions, the cold conditions, making you have to wear more gear and extra layers. But for this situation, man, that's a really hard place for these guys
and it's
to be
definitely
in.
understanding. It's a good rule. Like if we didn't have this rule, we'd have people or kids wearing whatever the heck they want to wear under their jerseys. So it is a good rule.
Right.
But the problem, I think, is enforcement of this rule. Not all officials enforce the same rules. Sometimes this happens in other meets, and then you can pick and choose and say, hey, this didn't happen here. So that's where the issue stems from. They're basically being set as an example because they did this, right? I talked to the Michigan High School State Association this morning, and they said to me that they held the appeal on site, and after the appeal, you can't really do much from there. So I don't know what happens with Northville from here, but it just seems like they got a tough break.
I was a track and cross country official before coming down here. Shout out to the Section 4 crew, Steve Baxter. You guys do a great job out there up in New York. And this is always one of the things that we talk about the most in all our preseason meetings when we'd all sit down, all the officials, we'd go over our meetings, go over all the new rules, everything needed to be implemented. The uniform rules are always one of the ones that you went over the most because there can be some potential gray area depending on the length of the uniform. Everything varies a little bit. And so it's emphasized that we knew it in and out, everything that was going on in there, and being able to communicate that to coaches. The coaches do need to be on top of this. Coming to this point of the season, you would hope that this wouldn't be a problem. Maybe early on these things happen, whether, for whatever reason. But right at this point, and the officials too, you got to be aware of that. I think you have to be out in front of this to be able to give those athletes some fair warning where it's easy to go back and say, well, that was that. If you're going up there and talking as athletes, same thing we would do, whether it's cross country or track. When the kids come to the start line for cross country meet, we'd go around the line and say, hey, you got to switch that out real fast. There has to be some back and forth. The officials, I think it's their responsibility to make sure these athletes can compete. And if that means they have to switch something up last minute, it's what you got to do. It's not a deal. But if you're not communicating that as an official, I don't think you're doing your job well.
Yeah, for one thing, it's just the last thing. It's a huge statement made by the officials in Michigan because when I talked to the spokesperson at the state association, they said in his 30 years, working with cross country and track and field, he's almost never dealt with this at all at this level, and especially because there's a state qualifying bid on the line too. You're taking a lot of opportunity away from kids who earned it. So I don't know. It's a rule, but is it the right rule? let us know on Facebook or on Twitter. Let us know, what your thoughts are. We would love to hear them as we dig further into this discussion.
Yeah.
But let's move on. We got state championship season.
Let's move back.
Oh,
Joaquin.
We got Joaquin
here.
Oh my gosh.
Joaquin is here. So, as we clarified before, Joaquin, he was third last year at the D3 state championships in California. Won Mount Sac D3 sweepstakes race. Joaquin, man, how you doing? Good to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be on. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing pretty well right now.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know you're getting ready for practice and everything, so we kind of had a crazy couple minutes here, but I'm glad you could make it. So
wait, where is he at right now?
Yeah, where?
Are you in the car?
I'm in my car, and I put the seats down in my van, and I'm at the trail where we run, and I ran a mile before practice, so I could kind of get the mileage in before, and I'm about right after this, I'm about to go on a run.
Wait, do you drive a minivan then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I got 2003 Honda Odyssey.
Dude, I had a minivan in high school too. That's the way to rock it.
Yeah, always.
But yeah, man, without further ado, so where you got a big decision to make, or where are you looking to go next year?
No, yeah, I mean, definitely first of all, before I reveal and stuff like that, really want to thank everyone who has supported me. My coaches especially, parents, friends, family, just in general. But yeah, so the college I am choosing going to is this one right here.
Boom.
Congratulations.
That's
awesome. Wait.
Uh-oh.
Okay, sorry. There you go.
What?
That's better.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Little bit of miscommunication.
All right.
Smoke and mirrors
Actually,
there,
I printed
Joaquin.
up the wrong one.
Wake Forest.
So yeah, Wake Forest University is where I've decided to go. Now, I'm really blessed and honored to be able to run on their team, and I'm really excited for the next couple of years.
Awesome, man. What ultimately led you to the decision to pick Wake Forest?
So as some people know, I guess, I was injured last cross-country season. And, I lost track season, my bad. And because of that, me and my friend, Finn Waters, decided to go to New Balance Nationals because by then I was sort of back in the running, so it was a chance to be able to race. And because of that, I was able to visit Wake Forest because we wanted to see the schools around there anyways. And, as soon as I kind of got on the campus, I got that feeling wow, this is really cool, that kind of gut feeling. And that further developed, as time went on. Went on my official visit just recently, and I really liked the team, really liked hanging out with them, loved where the program's going, loved the school itself. It's definitely a type of school where if there wasn't running, if something happened or I had to stop running, I would still love to be there. So that kind of really made my decision.
Yeah, I know we talked to you, after Mount Sac, and that was one of the big things for you. So, how do you feel with the environment? What really was the big draw once you got, on campus? Who are some of the guys that you talked to along throughout the visit process?
Yeah, some guys you guys will know is I talked to. I'm sorry for the guys in the back. Sorry about that. Definitely Mitchell Day and Daniel Viarga were two guys. Sorry guys. Were definitely some guys that. Definitely some guys. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm breaking down. We're definitely some guys I talked to, and I really liked hanging out on a team. There are a lot of, all the guys I really like talking to, but some guys who graduated last year, like Mitchell Day and Daniel Viarga, they're really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got William Hunsdale, Daniel Viegra, two big pickups in that class last year. What's it like knowing that they're going to be there next year, and then you and there's some other guys. I think a Green Hope athlete recently recruited to Wake Forest.
Yeah,
so what's that like
he was on the visit too with us, and we've been texting and stuff like that. And when he committed, he was like, "You next?" And that was same with Michael Mork. He right after he committed was like, "So are you committing next?" And I was like, "We'll see." And but yeah, I really like all the commits. Definitely Michael, Ian. I know there are a couple other ones who I haven't met, but I'm really excited. I know going to Wake Forest, I'm gonna have a really close bond with everyone on the team, and it's kind of a really nice brotherhood.
Awesome, man. So then, last question, I guess. Have you been following their progress at all on how they did at ACCs, and how do you think you're gonna be able to add to this program next year?
Yeah, they did really well at the ACCs. Last year they were 13th. This year they were 6th. With one guy, with Daniel being out, and Mitchell Day, he got 14th overall. From even when I saw the recruits from last year, I knew, oh wow, this program's going to be good. And they got the new coaching staff, Coach Ferris and Coach Hayes. I really like what they're doing with the program. They remind me a lot of coaches I've had in the past, And that's, I've really been blessed with all the coaches I've had. So that's definitely a good sign if they remind me of past coaches.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing your decision with us here today. I'm glad that we could finally get you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Have a great practice. Tell your boys we said what's up. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, sorry about them in the back.
It's all good, man. It's fun. It adds to the fun of it.
I did exactly what I told them not to do. But,
Nice.
All right.
Man.
Well,
Okay.
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, dude. We'll catch you later.
See ya. Great pickup for Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strong. Delgado just committed from the North Carolina guys in Green Hope. This is a team of the future here. You talked about the new coaching staff. Definitely 13th to 6th is no joke. ACC, not the deepest conference, but it can be a sneaky good one too. So I think this is great. And something he mentioned, which I think is so important too, is that this is a school that if I had to stop running, I'd be really happy here. I think a lot of times you kind of lose that when you're a top athlete being recruited to a really good program, and sometimes it's all about the running and athletics. I think it's a really good point that he makes. It's good to see athletes making those choices for the right decision, knowing that if something were to happen, I'm still in the right place.
Absolutely. That is a great point. We have 15 state championships taking place.
Woo!
One of our biggest weekends in the state championship season,
monster.
and a lot of great states. Texas is one of them, Pennsylvania, Illinois. You know what? Why don't we start with Illinois? We got a pretty big matchup happening on the boys' side. Dylan Jacobs versus Danny Kilrea. They're 2 and 3 on the 450 boys rankings. So who do we got here?
I'm going with Dylan Jacobs. You know, in that first race of the season, when Danny beat him by about 30 seconds, a man, Tony Jones, reached out to the coach at Sandberg, and he said, you know what, Danny is just so much better than we are right now. We weren't ready for that race, but this race doesn't matter. The first race of the season, Danny Kilrea blows him out of the water, but this race doesn't matter. They're planning for the long game. We know he's been there, national champions last year. I think Dylan Jacobs is just coming into form. We saw it this past weekend, and he's going to be ready to go on a tear in the postseason just like in 2016. So I'm picking Dylan Jacobs to win the title. I'm
taking Danny Kilrea, Lyons Township. And I think one of the biggest reasons for him is he's got the patience to win a matchup like that. I watched actually Foot Locker Nationals from last year, and I looked at Dylan Jacobs go out a little too fast in that race. And, in this past race at sectionals or regionals, it was sectionals, he's just a fast runner. He goes out really hard. I think Danny Kilrea likes to pick off people late in races. And you looked at Mike Kuharek Invitational at first to finish. He ran really well at both those meets. Obviously Dylan got him this past weekend, but I think Danny Kilrea is sort of the tiger. He's eyeing it up, and he's going to make that move late in the race.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to side with Travis on this one. I got Dylan Jacobs. I think he's coming into form late in the season after a big race last week, taking the win. And and his racing strategy, does go out hard and fast. But I think he'll be able to hold on and take a state championship.
One thing you guys cannot use for this is speed rating, because they're nearly identical.
That is
they're
true.
nearly identical.
It's just a gut feeling on this one.
Yeah, it is
really
a gut feeling, but it's going to be a fantastic matchup in Illinois.
Yeah,
definitely.
Stay locked down. MileSplit, Illinois, be giving you updates all weekend long from that. So you know where you got to be. Tony Jones will be out there in all these states all over the country. MileSplit states.
And wait, real quick. We asked Twitter. And they said Dylan Jacobs as well, 61% in the vote. So
Man,
61.
Hey, Danny, I hope you're watching this, because I picked you. Just remember that in the future. We got another big discussion. Obviously, we talked about Ohio earlier in the year.
Right.
We had 3 really talented guys out there, Dustin Horter, Chad Johnson, and Zach Kreft. They're going at it D1, D2, D3 meet. But what should we expect to see out of these 3 guys in Ohio?
I've been Team Horter the entire season. I can't go back on that now. He's been my guy all year long, going into it, going on a tear early, and we see the National Performer of the Week. The entire country agrees with me. I think Dustin Horter comes out. He's going to keep showing up big. He's going to win a title. He's going to have the fastest time in the Ohio State meet. It's a huge matchup because all these guys, run individually, that someone's got to go out, and you have to throw it down because if you're on a slow time, someone's coming up next, and they're going to take it from you.
Yeah, Dustin Horter has the number 2 time on that course, National Trail Raceway in Hebron, 15:02 last year. He could be going for that course record, 14:54 at this meet. And we talked about letting loose, right? Going for that big time in the state championship race. I'm siding with you as well. You don't pick against a guy who's run 4 sub-15 times already this season. He's the most consistent. He hammers nonstop. And I think overall, if you look at that merge after that meet, it's going to be Dustin Horter, number 1 in Ohio.
Whew, that leaves me, man. I think, how can I go against the 1-2 and say the opposite? He's just looking very strong right now, and I think that he's going to be the one.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really good race, though, with those Ohio guys. And I think they run, flat, fast courses for most of the year, and this is not going to be any different. We're going to see some fast times this weekend from Ohio.
You guys are boring. I mean, Twitter's saying the same thing.
Twitter?
40% said Dustin Horder, so.
Yeah.
I mean, so there you go.
So
Chris
that's it.
Johnson, what you got?
Yeah,
prove
we
us
could
wrong.
see an upset then.
Yeah. By the way, Dustin Horder just committed to Indiana, I believe, and Zach Kraft has committed to Notre Dame, so they're going to go to some really great programs after their high school seasons, but that should be a really great sort of performance to watch in Ohio. One of the last states to keep an eye on, Minnesota, one of the best crop of girls nationally. You got Grace Pang, who we already mentioned, Anna Fensky, Emily Covert, Sophie Wisher. If we were to merge all these races together, the A and the AA in Minnesota and the girl side, who do we think is going to come out as the best in that state?
I'm liking Emily Covert and where she's headed this season. I think coming into it, she wasn't quite on the same level as some of these other athletes, but now she's strung together a lot of really strong races. This is a big one coming up. This is one of the strongest individually talented girl states in the nation right now, so this race is going to be really telling as to how these athletes are going to compete in the postseason. But I think there's a lot on the line for Emily Covert still to make sure you prove yourself now at this level. The championship, this is when races start to matter. Everything else that's happened this season, it's great to win big invitationals. Those things are important for your resume, big confidence builders, but ultimately, this is when things start to matter, and I think Emily Covert is going to show up big.
Yeah, she had one of her best seasons, this fall already, 17:32 best time. It's going to be great for the Covert, Fensky, and Wisher because they're all going up against the AA race. Pang's by herself really in A. Yeah. She's got her sister Lauren, so she's been sort of running smooth and comfortable all year. I don't know if she can solo a huge effort like that. She might have to wait for a national event where I have predicted her to win.
I thought you were pulling back on that.
Nah,
that's why I was kind of like, wait a second.
But I'm going to go with Anna Fensky. Won AA last year as a I believe 8th grader, going in here with a little bit of experience. Covert won Roy Griak. She was 7th year last year, so she's got a lot on the line motivationally. But Anna Fensky just looks so good at this point in the season, and I think Anna Fensky has all the right cards for a win here.
See, I like Grace Ping in this one. I think Grace has something to prove after that lost time like Covert at Roy Griak. I think Grace is going to come out hungry. She's young. She's just going to rebound and just have fun with it and get out there and really race hard. I think that she can take the win. And plus, it's a Grace Ping, man. Ping Dynasty. You're all about it.
She's a little bit. We haven't really been talking about Grace Ping that much, this season because she hasn't really done a lot. But here, like you said, here's the right time to start.
Yep.
We asked Twitter. 76% of you guys said Grace Ping's gonna run the fastest. So.
Oh, a lot of Grace Ping fans.
Boom. Yeah. Well, watch out for that workout Wednesday on MileSplit.com. Do we have anything else?
Quick shout out, South Lake Carroll, let's go. 2011 epic meet, legendary team. Ian Dilley, new member here at our Flow team. He's the senior editor at Flow Bikes, was actually on the first ever South Lake Carroll cross country team to make it to the state meet back in 1997. So shout out to the crew at South Lake and good luck at the state meet.
Awesome. November 4th. In Round Rock for Texas.
So.
Yep.
Just up the road.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. This has been MileSplit Live presented by New Balance. If you have any thoughts or comments, make sure to tweet at us at MileSplit or on Facebook. Our next show, next Monday, 4 p.m. You know when to watch. We'll see you later.